Alright guys, today I'll be giving you my top 10 drop towers I've done as of early 2025. Now, I've done some pretty good ones. I haven't done all the elite ones, but I've done a good amount. Now, this list will be including theming and atmosphere. This will not just be the drop tower itself and the actual free-falling sensation, but that is, of course, the most important part with the drop tower, so that will come over all the theming and everything at the end of the day. So starting off the list at number 10 is the Reese's Tower at Hershey Park. This one's a very short drop tower in terms of duration and of course the height. It's very short, but you do get 2 pops of weak ejector airtime. I will say it's weak ejector, but you definitely still get it. It feels pretty strong considering the size of the drop tower. You'd think it'd be a family ride, but it's definitely more on the thrill side. Again, it's short length, it's short stature, definitely make it one of the weaker drop towers on this list. But that being said, if it ever opens again, definitely get a ride on it. Number 9 is its next door neighbor, the Hershey's Tower. Now, this one doesn't have 2 pops of ejector, but it does have the strongest moment of ejector between the 2 towers, and that is when you're going into the drop tower mode, and the first drop out of that drop tower mode is actually insane. You actually get good ejector on that. I'm not talking RMC, Intamin Prefab, Intamin Hyper level, but like, it's still good stuff, and the rest of the ride is pretty fun too. Coming in at number 8 is Skyscreamer at Marineland. This is the best SNS drop tower I've done, and it's not because of the forces. You get the shot mode and the drop mode, but neither give that good of forces, just some weak floater airtime. But of course, you ride this ride for the views. If you sit in the right direction, you get the best view ever of Niagara Falls. Coming in at number 7 is Drop Tower at Kings Island. This one actually disappointed me a little. I was hearing things like this was a top 5 drop tower in the country, this was better than drop towers like Zumanjaro and Lex Luthor, and it's absolutely not. It's still a fun ride, you get some decent floater airtime on the way down, and you do get a little bit of butterflies, but not much. There's definitely better drop towers out there for that. So overall, I do like this Kings Island drop tower, but there's better ones. Coming in at number 6 is Drop Zone at Canada's Wonderland. I personally like the Canada's Wonderland version more than the Kings Island version. This one just had a bit more punch in my opinion, and it has been since 2017 since I've ridden this one, so maybe it's just my memory being awful. Hopefully I can get back on it this year when I go back. But Drop Zone is just a really intense drop tower. There's not really too much else to say. Coming in at number 5 is Lex Luthor. Now, the top 5 on this list are really good. These are some fantastic flat rides, some of the best flat rides in the world. Lex Luthor has one of the best views on any ride. It's definitely no Skyscreamer, but you still get a great view of the desert out there in California. And of course, you have the visual of Superman right next to you, and it's really cool. I did end up getting a dueling ride on this between my 2 rides, and it was a really cool experience. The whole tower sort of shook. It's hard to explain, but you definitely feel a bit of a rumble when you're at the top there. And then the actual drop itself is very powerful. You get butterflies, it's very sustained, you get good floater airtime all the way down, and it's just tough to beat a high quality drop tower like this. There's not too many out there, but coming in at number 4 is a ride that's almost identical to this. It's Zumanjaro Drop of Doom, and this one's definitely the most unfortunate because it's never opening again. We know it's getting demolished pretty soon, around mid-February actually, so we don't have that much longer with this structure, but the time I had with Zumanjaro was great. I got a bunch of rides on this in my lifetime, and all of them gave great airtime. It was good floater all the way down, and it felt even more sustained than Lex Luthor. You just felt like you were falling for an eternity. You know how people say the B&M Giga Drops are eternal? No, try this or Lex Luthor. You just keep falling and falling, and the butterflies get stronger and stronger as you go. You don't really get them for the first third of this drop, but then you start getting them, and then by the time it's over, yeah, it's insane. The views on this one aren't too particularly special. You just get a nice view of the park and the surrounding areas, but something that can really enhance your ride experience is getting a duel with King Dakar. Now, I know in its early days you couldn't get a duel with King Dakar because government, but during those final few years you could get a duel with King Dakar, and that was truly something special. I got a couple duels, And just looking next to you and seeing King Dakar diving down while you're dropping is really something special. Of course, if you time it perfect, King Dakar is going to destroy you to the bottom because it's just going in with way more momentum. It's got momentum over the top and you don't, but it's still really cool. The tower sort of shakes like on Lex Luthor, so overall this one will definitely be missed. Coming in at number 3 is Falcon's Fury. I know this is a lot of people's number 1, and trust me, I do love this drop tower, but I've got a main complaint, but I'll get to that in a bit. But first, let's talk about the positives. This thing has a really good view. Again, not Sky Screamer, not even Lex Luthor level, but still a solid view of the park and the surrounding area. But, of course, what makes this drop tower is the flying position. It is freaky as hell going down this drop tower in the flying position. And honestly, the freakiest part is tilting into the flying position. And I've never heard anyone talk about this, but it genuinely feels like you'll slip out when you're tipping into that flying position. It's weird to describe, but I almost wanted to take my arms out of the Superman position and hold on because it just felt wrong. I know there's absolutely no way you can slip out, but just something about it felt like it. And the drop itself does give some okay floater airtime. This is my main complaint. Yes, it's really cool staring at the ground and then feeling all that wind in your face and everything. But the airtime's just not quite as good as rides like Zumanjaro and Lex Luthor. And the butterflies are unfortunately non-existent on this ride. Trust me, I really wanted to put this ride at number 1 or 2, but I just couldn't with my experience on it. Coming in at number 2 are a group of drop towers, and these are the Larson REM drop towers. If you're not an enthusiast, you might be wondering how on earth these are better than rides like Falcon's Fury and Zumanjaro. Well, let me tell you, these things pack the biggest punch of any drop tower, period. They're definitely not as sustained as Zumanjaro or Lex Luthor, but they kind of feel like it. These things feel like they last for way longer than they actually do, and part of that is just because of the sheer power. Something I haven't talked about yet are restraints, but the restraints on this ride are particularly good. They're OTS restraints, but they're so freeing. You just actually pop up like 6 inches on these things. It's incredible. The other drop towers I've talked about have fine restraints, they're whatever, but these restraints are amazing. On these rides, you'll get ejector. Again, it's weak ejector like the Hershey's Tower, but it's still good. But the main thing that makes these rides are the butterflies. Oh my god, you will not experience stronger butterflies anywhere else in the world. These things absolutely pack one of the biggest punches for such a small drop tower. And coming in at number 1, by a pretty good amount in my opinion, is the Twilight Zone Tower of Terror. Yeah, it's a pretty basic opinion, but it's Disney level theming, and it's not just Disney level, it is pretty much their best work. I absolutely love this ride. It's got only seatbelts for restraint, so you really feel that airtime. It's definitely not as strong as like the Larson drop towers or even Zumanjaro, but you get multiple good drops of good floater airtime with only a seatbelt, so it's good stuff on those drops. But of course, the theming's what really makes it. I love the queue line and all the sort of haunted decor they have in there. And then once you actually get on the ride, oh my god, the show scenes on this thing are 10 out of 10. Some of the best theming you'll ever find in any park, period. This really feels like a dark ride, the way you're going throughout the Twilight Zone before the drop sequence. And the drop sequence is randomized, so it's different every time. You don't really know what's going to happen. So overall, Twilight Zone Tower of Terror is definitely the best drop tower I've done. So that is my top 10 drop towers I've experienced. Let me know what you guys thought of this list down in the comments below. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.